Hey students, right back with you here, bringing you some information. We talked about earlier about fairness. When we play and participate in activities, we're always, what is fair and that's not fair, and that's the one thing that I always enjoyed about coaching and teaching. Physical education, athletics was these topics, lifelong topics, become things that we talk about and work on, and hopefully molds and makes you a more rounded, better person for life. I'll bring this first one to you. So I learned the hard way that I cannot always count on others to respect my feelings. Something I learned early on. If I respect theirs, being a good person doesn't guarantee that others will be good to people to you. You only have control over yourself and how you choose to be as a person. And that's the control you have to yourself. As for others, you can only choose to accept them or walk away from them. And I know that's one of the things that I saw in the last 3.5 years. Students, sometimes things weren't going their way, or they didn't feel like they were being treated, and they learned to just walk away. I've had to learn to do that myself when things aren't exactly the way I was brought up, taught. The way I treated other people was just to walk away from those who didn't have the same level of respect for me. That's not disrespect. That's just choosing not to be controversial. So I share that one, and another one is it's not fair to ask of others. In other words, I cannot ask of you to do something or ask of others that are not willing to do yourself. I call it rolling up your sleeves, but it's just like I can tell you through the years that I would go into a school and everybody's working real hard, and I've actually grabbed a mop bucket myself and got out with the custodians in the hallway and mopped hallways and making sure that the school was ready. I can just remember one instance. In fact, I had one at ROP about a year, maybe about a year and a half ago, that basically shut the school down for a while. Someone decided to set off a fire extinguisher, and Mr. Payne, myself, and Mr. Ash went out and started mopping everything up. And, other people were doing other things, and yes, it was dirty, nasty work. But we got out there and cleaned things up so we could have school the next day. And again, how can you ask of other people to do something you're not willing to do yourself? At that point in juncture, I was really impressed with Mr. Payne. Coat and tie, stepped out, shucked it all off, got out there with all of us, and we started cleaning the gymnasium, started cleaning the upper hallways, and making it a place that students could go to school the next day. Did that with a custodian one time. Walked in and used to show up at school about 6 o'clock in the morning, and we had a busted pipe and it was flooding all the hallways. And I got kids coming to school in about an hour and a half. And so we're out there mopping and squeegeeing the hallways. And this is a pretty good sized school, kids, ones that held about 3,800 kids and 378 employees. And by the time the kids got there, it wasn't perfect, but it was where we could hold school. And that was an act of nature that day, an act of just old rusted pipes and cold weather. And we were able to put things together and finish up a school day and go on. So again, some things aren't fair or seem to not be fair, but learning to deal with it makes you a better person. I'm sorry, my throat's gotten away from me. If you expect the world to be fair to you because you are fair with them, it's like asking a lion not to eat you because you didn't eat the lion. And I think that's kind of funny myself too, because as we know, the wild animals, they're not looking at being fair at that time. They're looking at survival. And again, I don't think you would get much sympathy. So, and you know that. So again, when you're going in, go in with both eyes open, and be aware who and what you're dealing with. Be a good person and a fair person is very important in life. I'll read that one more time, short and sweet. Be a good person and a fair person. People respect you for that. They may not agree with you at the time, but if you're good and you're fair, it's very important in life. When you walk away from life one day, you will want to walk away knowing that you did your best job and you were as fair as you possibly could be with everyone that you were working with. Life isn't fair. No matter what life throws your way, no matter how unfair it may seem, refuse to play the victim. Refuse to be ruled by fear, pessimism, and negativity. Okay, negativity, I think we understand. Pessimism, there's some people that do what's called the poor little old me. They want everybody's sympathy when things aren't going their way. Want people to do that. I ask you to be a better person than that. Don't be pessimistic and try to tell them 28 things that are wrong. Try to find out the things that are correct. And then if it's not good enough, be willing to move on. Be a warrior. Work through whatever life throws your way with courage, love, and positivity, and continually to push forward. Some people lay down. Some people go backwards, retract their steps. I'm a person that chose in his lifetime that when I moved forward, I moved forward. I never went back to some place that I ever worked before. I never went back to something that I was doing before. I never did a repeat, and thinking something else would change and it would be better. And I encourage you to somewhat develop that philosophy, because then it creates some doubt in yourself. Am I good enough? Well, yes, you are. You're good enough to do whatever you need to do and want to do. If it wasn't good enough the time before, the chances are it's not going to be good enough again. So at some point in time, I ask you not to repeat things. Always take a step